Welcome to the Darkest Dungeon mod spotlight, where I will showcase a modded hero and explain their mechanics. Today we will be taking a look at the Tusk. The Tusk is a semi-feral sociopath who lives for pride and boasting after all that was left to her was the satisfaction procured by vengeance. She didn't come here for redemption or salvation, she only followed her next big prize's trail to fill a wall of vanity. Tusk is a somewhat sturdy damage dealer, like the Hellion or the Bounty Hunter. Usually performs best in the middle two positions of your party. So, looking at the Tusk's stats, there isn't a whole lot to talk about. She's really average in nearly every category except for the following. Her damage is a little above average. Her disease resistance is very high. 60% is higher than even like the Plague Doctor. Her move resistance is about 10% higher than the average. Her debuff resistance is a little lower than the average. And she can disarm traps at an adequate level. The Tusk's first ability is Big Game. It is her basic attack that can curiously only be used from the back three positions against the front two. It can put her high damage to good use with a plus 75% damage modifier versus marked and a plus 35% damage modifier versus enemies size 2 or greater. So she's really good at taking down those big tanky targets, especially if you mark them, you can just rip them apart.
Is broken.
The Tusk's second ability is Bite Me. It can be used from any position to any position on the enemy team. It marks the target for 3 turns. It will buff the target's damage by 10% for 1 turn, and it buffs your own damage by 15% to 35% at max rank for 2 turns. The Tusk's third ability is Mastodon. It can only be used from the middle 2 positions, and it does a low amount of damage but has a high stun chance. Additionally, it clears stun off of all of your allies and buffs your entire party's move resistance by 30%. Tusk's next ability is Ram. It is as simple as it is brutish. It can only be used from the middle 2 positions against the enemy's front 2. It has a knockback 3 effect, so it'll always knock them to the back of the party. And it has the same plus 35% damage versus size 2 or greater enemies that Big Game has. And even if you fail to knock them back, you'll still attempt to give them a 40% move resistance debuff. The Tusk's fifth ability is Spit. It can be used from any position to any position on the enemy team. It does a small amount of damage that can be sometimes used to finish off weak enemies. It activates Riposte on the Tusk for 2 turns. Additionally, it debuffs the target for 5 accuracy at rank 1 to 18 accuracy at max rank for 1 turn. The Tusk's Riposte does minus 40% damage at rank 1 up to minus 20% damage at max rank. And not shown here, it also has the plus 35% damage versus size 2 or greater enemies on all ripostes.
Destroyed.
The Tusk's sixth ability is Irascible. Irascible means to be easily angered. She can only use it once per battle. It heals herself by 8 to 16 health. It buffs her damage by 10 to 26%. It gives her 1 to 4 speed and debuffs her accuracy by 6 to 14. and it lasts the entire battle. The Tusk's final ability is Trample. It can only be used from the back two positions against both of the front two positions of the enemy team. It moves the Tusk forward 1, which helps you get back into position to use most of your other abilities. It does pretty decent damage considering it hits 2 targets with only a minus 20% damage penalty, and it gets a plus 15% damage bonus versus beasts. As you rank up Trample, it only really gets a bonus to accuracy and crit. Okay, now let's take a look at the Tusk's camping skills. Her first camping skill is Overconfidence. It is a slow and insidious killer, after all. But for the low cost of 2 time points, you can get a 25% damage boost for 4 battles. But you also get that 10 accuracy debuff. You can, however, clear off the accuracy penalty by using herbs. Her next camping skill is Boast, which can give you a large 50% scouting chance bonus, but it also gives you a 15% penalty to your party being surprised. I guess the reasoning is you're going to see the enemy fights more often because you're going to be scouting, but you're still going to be surprised. Your third camping skill is Uncaring, which for 3 points you can get 40% bleed and blight resist. This can be really useful in certain dungeons that you expect to be taking a lot of these damage over time effects in. And her fourth camping skill is Filthy, which for 3 points you can prevent nighttime ambush and all your companions get 6 stress. It is very similar to the occultist Unspeakable Commune. Here's a couple of other interesting facts about the Tusk. She is non-religious and can work with the Abomination. She benefits from the Training Ring District, granting 4 accuracy and 10% health. Some possible uses for the Tusk include the following. She can stick in the middle of your party, stunning or knocking back enemies with Mastodon and Ram. You can focus on a riposte-heavy strategy by using Spit to counterattack and Irascible to heal up and boost your damage. Or you can stick to Big Game and Trample to complement your party's marking and shuffling capabilities. In conclusion, the Tusk is a powerful addition to your lineup with a couple of ways to specialize. Her one weakness would be that she has no way to reliably hit the back 2 rows without riposte. Is that enough to turn you away from the Tusk, or will you embrace your inner rage to destroy your foes with power and savagery?